Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Build Guide. Today we're checking out a Ranger build that I've been playing about it for a very long time on my own personal account. It's really good fun. It does what it says in the tin and it actually fights from range. It's all based around ranged combat. You take advantage of maps like the Battle of Kylo or Spirit Watch, where you can actually fight from range effectively and actually get out of range of melee combat, and it makes them very difficult for them to chase you down. Yeah, those maps is really powerful, and it's not so great on maps like the Legacy of the Foefire, where it's a bit more melee based. Legacy of the Foefire there's some potential for, but the Forest of Niflhel, for example, a very melee based map with a lot of choke points, a lot of winding routes. This build's not as powerful there as it could be, so better to go with something else on that map. But yeah, this is really strong on Kylo, and it's the map that this build was really designed for. So first up, our first weapon set is the longbow. This is basically all physical damage. Barrow is their number 5 skill. This is going to apply an AoE cripple and deal some reasonable damage to targets. Great for helping to defend a point, so you can lay down the damage actually onto the node and push everyone off the node as they try to get out of it. Or you can use it for slowing down opponents going from point A to point B. Now, point blank shot is more to do with defending yourself. So if the enemy's coming up towards you and you want to knock them off the ledge, you can do that quite effectively using that skill. Hunter's Shot and Rapid Fire should be used in tandem, so you open it with Hunter's Shot, applying 10 stacks of vulnerability, Rapid Fire afterwards to deal an extra 10% damage throughout it, and Rapid Fire is your main source of damage for this weapon set. The number 1 skill is very powerful as well, Long Range Shot. Does more damage the further distance you are out from the target, so we're going to be at max range for a lot of the actual combat in this game, so yeah, that's going to be really effective at helping us dish out a bit more damage. So for our second weapon set, we've gone with the short bow. The first two skills are basically going to apply a bit of condition damage. We don't have a lot of condition damage ourselves, so it's not really going to be that useful, but the poison will reduce any healing effectiveness of the target by 33%, so that does have some viability. Now, the third skill is Quick Shot, so this is going to basically get you out of dodge if you start getting focused. It's going to evade attacks for a second, and it also gives you swiftness. It can be used to get out of fire if you start getting focused on. Crippling Shot is going to apply a cripple to the enemy and a bit of bleeding, and Concussion Shot is a bit of CC as you get a 1-second stun or daze depending on your position with that skill. Now, the short bow is mainly your skirmishing weapon. You're not going to be using it too much when you're sniping when you're up on a building, but if someone's coming up towards you or something like that and your knockback's on cooldown from your longbow, you can switch out to the short bow and basically use that to skirmish with the enemy, try to flee away from them using Quick Shot and that kind of thing. You can use something along the lines of Crippling Shot to give them cripple, Quick Shot to give yourself swiftness and get away from them a little bit, turn around and run, and if they start focusing you or something, you can use Concussion Shot to quickly stun or daze them. It has some viability for that sort of use. You can also use the number 1 skill, although it applies bleeding, the damage isn't too bad on it, and if you actually use Quickening Zephyr, it will fire really quickly and dish out some pretty reasonable damage. So first up, our healing skills, Healers 1, so this will heal yourself and your pet. It's on a pretty short cooldown, it's a fairly substantial heal. There is some viability towards using Healing Spring instead. It's a bit of a weaker heal, but it will apply regeneration, and it also gives some condition removal to the build which otherwise lacks it. Quickening Zephyr is your first utility skill, so this is going to double the speed of your animations, and it's basically used as part of your burst rotation. You're going to be using something like Quickening Zephyr while using Hunter's Shot and Rapid Fire. It's basically going to dish out the damage twice as fast, dealing out more damage before the enemy can react to it. Fairly effective. Lightning Reflexes, so this is going to be your get out of dodge skill. If you start getting focused or CC'd, you can use Lightning Reflexes as a stun breaker. It'll also apply Vigor, so you can dodge a bit more, and it basically gets you out of trouble. Your last utility skill, this can be a few different things. Spike Trap's a good option as it's going to slow the enemy down, so you can put it basically on a ramp or something leading to your current location, and if you hear it being triggered or anything like that, it's actually going to slow the enemy down and you're going to know they're approaching if you've heard it, and if not, it slows them down. The same can be said of Frost Trap as well, so it's a different option there if you do want to go for a similar sort of thing. Now, the other skills we can use Muddy Terrain. This will use mud to cripple and immobilize the foes. It's on a pretty short cooldown again, and that's fairly effective. And another option is Protect Me, and this will make your pet take all damage from you and can be another panic button, but a bit of a personal choice there on what you want for that final utility skill. I would recommend something that gives a little bit of CC to the build. For the elite skill, Rampagers 1 is probably the best option, so this is going to apply might to your pet every time you crit, and your pet will apply might to you every time he hits the target. It also gives you stability, so if you start getting focused between nodes, you can use this to give yourself stability and then run like hell, so that's going to help with that. It also gives swiftness, which will help with the same sort of thing, or if you are focusing on players again, it'll give you fury, so you're going to get 20% more crit rate, so you're going to crit more and deal a bit more damage. There is a little bit of viability to taking Entangle as well, because if you do start getting players rushing you or something like that, you can use Entangle and then run away, but that's really the only use that Entangle has. The bleeding damage isn't really going to do a lot, so it's probably better to run with the Rampage as one. Now for our armor runes, we've gone with the runes of the Ogre. This is going to apply extra power to yourself, a bit more critical damage, 4% more raw damage, and you also have the chance of summoning up a Rock Dog when you get hit. The Rock Dog's going to basically apply a little bit more damage to the target. They're actually quite effective, and the extra increase of damage is going to be quite useful in general. Now, for the weapons, we've gone with the Sigil of Superior Air in both of them. If you prefer, you could go for something like the Sigil of Bloodlust, which is going to give you 250 power when it's at maximum. It takes 5 kills to get to that point. This build's fairly good at lasting without dying throughout an entire game, so that's a good valid option. But the Sigil of Superior Air is pretty good as a single target. Also, you could go for the, is it the Flame or Fire Sigil, something like that, and it will apply an AoE version of this. A little bit less damage than the Sigil of Superior Air, but still fairly effective. For the amulet, now you've got a couple options here. We've got the Knight's Amulet with a Berserker's Jewel. This is basically going to give us power, precision and vitality, and then the Berserker Jewel is giving a little bit of critical damage and a bit more precision and vitality and quite a lot of power. Now, the other option is you could go pure Berserker's Jewel. Pure Berserker's Jewel is going to give you a lot more damage, but you're going to lack in the vitality, so you're going to be a bit more squishy. I personally like going for this sort of setup as it gives you a little bit more survivability if you do get caught off guard. So for our traits, we've gone 30, 25, 10, 0, 5. 30 points in marksmanship. The mining traits are all about opening strikes, and I don't really like that mechanic. Basically, it means your first attack is going to crit, your pet will also get an opening strike, and you're going to apply, I think it's 5 stacks of vulnerability with your first hit on the target. Now, while that can be useful if you're combining it with Hunter's Shot and then using your burst of rapid fire, because you're going to get 15% extra damage, it's not really all that great. But the major traits are, and it's also going to give us 300 points in the power line. So we're going to get damage increased by 10% when your endurance is full. Seeing as we're going to be out of melee range, we're not going to need to dodge very often, so that's going to give us a raw 10% increase to our damage. All arrow attacks pierce targets, and then an increase of the longbow and harpoon range and the longbow and harpoon damage. Mainly it's the longbow we're obviously focusing on there. So just in this trait line here, we've got an extra 15% damage coming in, which is pretty useful. We're going to go into that a little bit more in a moment. Then skirmishing, 25 points. Again, it's going to give us more precision and critical damage, which is all very important for this build. Gain swiftness when you swap your weapons in combat, gain fury when swapping weapons in combat, and deal 10% more damage while flanking. So now, if we're flanking the target, we've got 10% more damage there, we've got 10% more damage there, we've got 5% more damage there, and obviously back here as well, we've also got 4% more damage there. So we're getting a hell of a lot of boosting up of our raw damage from all these traits and our armor choices and stuff like that, which is going to make a pretty substantial difference. Primal Reflexes gives you 5 seconds of vigor when you're struck by a critical hit and can trigger every 15 seconds. This is basically, if you start getting focus, it's going to give you some more vigor so you can get out of combat a little bit quicker. And then we've also got short bow and longbow skills recharge 20% faster. It's worth going for that, seeing as it's going to cover both of our weapon sets in a single trait, and obviously it's really important to get all these extra damage and the extra precision and critical damage. 10 points in wilderness survival, increases endurance regeneration by 50%, so we're going to get back up to this, even if we do have to dodge, we're going to get back up to that maximum endurance quicker. And then we also get survival skills recharged 20% faster, so that's affecting quickening, zephyr and lightning reflexes, and if you decided to go for muddy terrain, it would affect that as well. Now our final one is only 5 points in Beast Mastery, and that's going to give you and your pet 2 seconds of quickness when you swap them. So swapping a pet is quite effectively is going to give you a bit of a boost in damage, and it's basically going to give you quickness similar to what Quickening Zephyr does, but you're not going to get the drawback. It's only 2 seconds of it, but that's going to be on like a 20-second cooldown, I believe, of the pet swap. So that's pretty useful, basically just giving yourself another way to burst a little bit of damage out, so you can literally pet swap at the same time as using rapid fire, and it's going to burst out the damage a little bit quicker. Got a little bit of gameplay to show you now. So this first clip's really long, but it's basically just got lots and lots of footage that we can really talk about and discuss what's going on. So you can see us here bursting down this ranger really easily. That was just using quickness and our rapid fire skill. We didn't use the number 3 skill, which would have made it even faster because we would have done 10% more damage throughout it, but we didn't need it. He went down fine anyway. We notice this necromancer in the background here, so we open up fire on them with rapid fire, use a pet swap to give ourselves quickness, and they go down as well. Obviously our teammates are helping us in that. That wasn't purely our damage, but you can see how much damage we were putting out, and it was coming out very, very fast and very quickly, and it's hard for them to react to it because they don't see us. That's the biggest thing. They don't actually know you're there, and you're just putting this huge amount of pressure onto them. Just showing this here quickly as well, just showing this little skylight area on the clock tower. You can actually use that really effectively to lay down some AoE fire or shoot on players from above, and they won't know what's happening to them. Here we lay down a barrage, forcing that player to go back up the staircase, that ranger, basically scaring them back a little bit, before coming down, open up with rapid fire and quickness once again forgetting the number 3 skill for the extra damage, but again it's not going to be needed and they are going to go down absolutely fine. And you can see our auto attack doing some pretty reasonable damage there, nearly 1000 damage per hit. It does cast very slowly and that's the biggest weakness of it, but it's still fairly effective when it does hit. Here we start trying to make sure this necromancer couldn't get revived. Unfortunately the 2 players actually reviving them, I think, and they will call up very, very quickly. We laid in a barrage on them, just causing them some problems, hitting all these minions as well. That's going to cause them some trouble. It's a fairly good effect, fairly good skill against sort of minion master necromancers like that one. We can see the necro is going to go down now. Bringing them down, then switching onto this ranger. Again, going for the rapid fire through there. Rapid fire is a fairly good attack even without the quickness on top of it, and it's on a fairly short cooldown, only 8 seconds, so you can utilise it quite often in combat. Obviously, you've got a 20-second cooldown on your 2 seconds of quickness and a 48-second on your other one. And notice here we did a quick weapon swap there as well to try and get the daze to stop that revive from happening. It did look like the revive happened anyway. I think we must have missed it. Maybe it was obstructed or something like that. And we apply a little bit of pressure to that ranger. They run away. You can see one of our teammates has gone down here, but we dish out a rapid fire down there, and in total that was, what, 12k between 2 players down there. That's because of our piercing arrows going through one player and hitting the other one, and that's where piercing arrows really comes in handy, is when you're dealing with revives and that kind of thing, because you're going to be able to hit multiple opponents at once. The knockback skill is great as well, of course, for that, because it's actually going to pierce through one player, and you can knock both players off someone if they're trying to go for a finisher or a revive. So this is just a few moments later in the game, and we've got a couple more fights we just want to show you. This is literally about 20 seconds after we just ended. This necromancer's come up onto this node, and there's a mesmer teammate of ours who wants to take control of it, so we're going to assist them. We open a rapid fire on that player, dealing about 6k damage with the rapid fire. We used our pet swap, of course, to get the quickness boost in it, and that necromancer's down really, really quickly. The beauty of that was they couldn't see the gank coming. They could maybe see the mesmer coming or something like that. They might have seen them coming through the doorway, but they didn't see us behind them. And that's the beauty of attacking people from range, is that they're not actually going to know you're there until it's too late. You're already going to be opening fire on them, and with the amount of range this build has, you can actually, even if they try to run, you can still hit them from quite a distance, which is really, really effective. So this next bit, we've got this player here, you can see fleeing from a group of players from the blue team. We drop a barrage onto the gate, and it basically scares them from going through. They stop running, and you can see in the top right hand corner our teammate is escaping nice and easily from that encounter. He would have died otherwise. There's 4 players there, I believe, for the blue team, and he managed to escape that quite comfortably. Now we've got the little fight here down this courtyard area. So our teammate drops an entangle there, dealing quite a bit of damage to them and locking them all in place, and we spike down that ranger using our quickening Zephyr, switching over to the warrior down there. You're getting a lot of conditions stacked up on them. We're dishing damage. We open up a rapid fire as they pop their quickness, so we're dealing 50% extra damage on them because they had their quickness skill up, and that brought them down quickly. We were a little bit worried about that elementalist maybe going for the revive on the ranger we brought down a moment ago, so we have to focus on them, and we scared them back, and it's a quick victory for our team. We came into that game a little bit late, but that showed a good how quickly this build can get into the fray. So this last clip, I just want to show you a bit of skirmishing. It's not what this build excels at, but it's why you do bring the short bow, so we should cover it a little bit. You can see us here just opening up on this warrior from a bit of range. We close the gap a little bit so he hasn't got too much chance to flee, but we're still keeping enough distance not to get pressured, and there you go, sort of avoiding that warrior attack quite nicely. The first warrior goes down, and our teammate goes in for the finisher. He gets interrupted by the second warrior, and the second warrior is now going to go for a revive on his teammate. We switch weapons, hitting a concussion shot, interrupting the revive. His teammate does get back up there. You can see him in the far left hand side. He's risen back up, so now it's a 3v2 up here. We swap weapons to give ourselves a swiftness and fury boost, and coming up here with a high damage weapon, the longbow. Focusing on the warrior first of all. They've been managed to bring down our engineer, so now we go for a knockback on the warrior. Focusing on the second warrior now. Luckily our teammate managed to interrupt him. We switch weapons into our short bow and hit him with a concussion shot, stopping him, and it also puts him in the down state, so it would have interrupted him anyway. We go for a quickness finisher to get a quick finisher up on him, and our teammate gets an instant revival. By the way, the big blue bubble on the right hand side, no idea what that is. It's some sort of lag or graphical lag or something. It was permanently there throughout the game. We've got this encounter now against this necromancer. We're just applying a little bit of pressure to them. We've got a rock dog on them as well. He's getting enough damage taken to him that he can't actually go full on attack, and we managed to scare him off there. And our teammate also managing to put a lot of pressure onto the warrior, and I believe he defeated the warrior as well. So that was a 3v2 there. It started out as a 2v1 against our teammate. We evened up to a 2v2. It went into a 3v2, and we still take the victory, and it's very safe and secure. The problem was with this build that it doesn't excel at that situation. It's viable, and we've got the interrupts and stuff like that to deal with finishers and deal with revives, but we haven't got the true capabilities that certain builds do have, and they do bring to those team fights, but it is still quite viable. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. We'll be back on Wednesday with a PvP guide, but until then, don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Twitter. We'll see you all soon.